Hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to a live Manchester United news, transfer news, and update show. News coming out of a bid for Jadon Sancho, 25 million. Could Manchester United finally be getting Jadon Sancho off their hand? Because it's not just the money, it is the wages. That gives Manchester United the funds not only to do Mbumo, we didn't need a sale to do Mbumo, but to move for a striker. Or could that even give United the funds for Emi Martinez? Monaco interested in Onana. There is some Saudi interest in Onana. United may have found some buyers for Onana and Sancho, and things are heating up on the outs. Ruben Amorim is showing no mercy to 4 Manchester United players, and he's going to drop from pre-season tour. He's basically said they're out of here. They're not in my plans. They're not going on pre-season tour. There's lots of Manchester United news coming in. Breaking news coming out right now in terms of Jadon Sancho. And Napoli and Juventus could now go in a bidding war. Napoli are trying to convince Sancho to come to them. But Napoli were messing about, saying they didn't want to pay the 21 million. They didn't want to pay the 21 million to bring Sancho in. And Juventus have said, well, Napoli are just doing it on the cheap. And Juventus have said, you know what, Sancho, Napoli don't want to pay the money for you. Napoli are trying to get you for less than 25 million. And Juventus have come in and said, you know what, here's 25 million for Jadon Sancho. And Jadon Sancho could be on his way out of Manchester United. So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football. Let's dive into your latest news. We've got updates and some rumours of Man United looking at Paulinho, but it's not really come from the most credible source of information, if I'm going to be totally honest with you. We've got a few other stories going about as well. But yeah, should we start with Jadon Sancho? I feel like it's only right that we start with the Jadon Sancho news. So it obviously came out from Di Marzio, and when it comes to Italian media, Di Marzio is a credible source of information. And Di Marzio has come out and said this here. So he first of all said, Juventus have spoken to Manchester United in the last hours about Jadon Sancho. They are making moves for him after failing to sign him last summer. More detail was added that basically they've intervened in the last few hours. Napoli are interested, but Juventus are now intervening. Juventus look to be hijacking, and Napoli are like talking to Sancho, trying to see if they can get him to agree terms, because they know that that's probably the more difficult bit to do, Sancho and his wages. But Juventus have come in and said, boom, 25 million for Sancho. Boom. So where is this Juventus making a bid for Sancho news come from? And what is the situation on that? Because Di Marzio is credible when it comes to Italian media, when it comes to Italian news. And all of a sudden, loads of Italian outlets have been coming out in the last few hours, basically saying, yep, a bid is coming for Sancho, this, that. And there seems to be some big updates in regards to a Jadon Sancho exit. So it's come out again from Italian media. And Italian media, they're very hit and miss. They're very hard to read. Sometimes they're spot on, and sometimes, they write a story for clicks. But they've been pretty accurate when we look at, the Amrabat story that felt like it came out of nowhere. And then we actually did go and get Amrabat in the past. And they are saying that Juventus have made an offer of 25 million for Sancho. The offer was considered an important one, and now Juventus have to convince the player, as it stands, is interested by the prospect of a possible move, blah, blah, blah. So basically, they probably meant to put possible move to Juventus, but it says Napoli there, so that was probably a bit of spell check there. But basically, this is some big stories and developments coming out on Sancho. We've also got some big stories and developments coming out on Onana. But let me just grab a sip of water, and then I will get into it, because I'm very thirsty. So basically, there's a lot of stories now coming out in regards to Jadon Sancho, his future, and some big developments coming in. So let's explain the situation. Let's break it down so it's clear to you guys. What has been said on Jadon Sancho? What has been said on Jadon Sancho's future? Does that mean he's going to Juventus? Is a deal done? Is a deal close to being done? How credible is this? All of that. First of all, these are, for me, more credible stories. These are more credible outlets. They have connections to Juventus. They have connections to Napoli. If they were talking about Branthwaite to Manchester United, I'd be like, what you on about? But they're talking about Italian clubs. And when it comes to Italian clubs, these are credible. Now, Di Marzio was saying that Juventus have made a move for Sancho. We know that Napoli have been in talks with Sancho over the last few days, but we don't know if Napoli are willing to pay up or not. Whereas Juventus have said, you know what, we're not going to faff around. Juventus wants Sancho. They know Napoli are interested. Juventus wanted Sancho last year, and Juventus have gone, we can get Sancho for 25 million. We can get Sancho for 25 million. That is pretty good. That is a cut price. And they've just gone, you know what, let's just bid it. We're not going to muck about. We're not going to mess Man United about. You know, every team likes to mess us about because it's a Man United player. They can get them on the cheap. Napoli are like, you know what, we're not going to muck United about. We're not going to mess Man United about. And they've gone in and they've put in that bid for Jadon Sancho. You know, it's now being reported the bid. So Juventus have come in, Juventus has made a bid, Napoli haven't, and they've made their move. They're now having conversations with Sancho, talks are now ongoing, and there's now suggestions that this deal could move really quickly. The bid is in, they know that Man United will accept the bid, now they've got to convince the player. There's a feeling that this can move quickly. The question is, how much in wages are they willing to offer Sancho? Because Sancho, I don't think is going to be offered the wages that he's on at Manchester United, but they might offer him more than Chelsea were offering him, which could convince them of a move. I also think with Man United getting the 5 million for Chelsea, maybe United just pay that to Sancho to get him to go for 25 million at this rate. I think United are that desperate to offload Sancho. But when you're offloading Sancho, you're saving 250k a week in wages. You are potentially bringing in £20 million. And that's going to free up a lot of room because he's got no future at Manchester United. He's been dropped from the tour. His shirt isn't even been printed. They want him gone. We've just got to hope that Juventus are going to offer him a salary that he'd accept. That's the big worry. Some people think that Sancho won't go anywhere. He's going to run down his contract. No way Juventus is going to offer him the wages. I mean, look, for me, I feel that this is a story with some kind of credibility. I feel that, you know, there might have been an offer in for Jadon Sancho, but until Romano and Ornstein say there's an offer in for Jadon Sancho, of course we have to take every story with a pinch of salt until you get that confirmation from Romano or Ornstein. Everyone always asks where my silver play button is. It's literally just there. I've got another one on the way, actually. I think it arrives next week. But look, obviously we haven't had anything from Ornstein. Obviously we haven't had anything from Romano in regards to a bid for Jadon Sancho. But we've now got news coming in that, you know, there's a bid for Jadon Sancho. He's prepared to move to Napoli, Samuel Lutcast is saying that Manchester United winger Jadon Sancho is prepared to settle for a move to Italy after Chelsea did not buy him. So we've now got Manchester United sources. Now, this is quite big. This is quite big, guys, because we've now got Manchester United sources getting in on the news, getting in on the stories here. Manchester United sources like Samuel Lutcast have said that Sancho is now prepared to settle in Italy because Chelsea paid the 5 million penalty fee to not sign him. United are happy, you know, it frees them up to go to Italy. There's lots of sources saying that Dortmund have a little bit of interest there as well, but Dortmund don't seem to be willing to pay his wages. But we've got 5 million because Chelsea didn't sign him. We've now got teams interested in buying him for 25 million in Italy. And we've now got English sources in Lutcast saying that Sancho is open to moving to Italy. So Samuel Lutcast has just got on this. So look, we've had no Ornstein on this. We've had no Romano on this. But we've had two credible Italian media outlets saying that Juventus are making moves. They're in the race. They're going to offer 25 million, you know, prepared to offer 25 million. And, you know, Sancho's open to the move. Now, the problem is, will Sancho agree to the wages? That's the big stumbling block. You know, we've got to wait and see what happens. But there's a couple of people now getting on this story, you know, and obviously, look, you can't get excited about it. Look, this doesn't mean Sancho's going to Juventus. This doesn't mean Sancho's gone and Sancho's leaving. But because realistically, Chelsea paid the 25 million for Sancho and he wouldn't agree to the wage. Bear with me. Liverpool reached an agreement to sign Kirkes. David Ornstein's just broke. And Liverpool are in for Gay. So lots of Liverpool breaking news, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about, of course, Sancho. So yeah, Sancho, fee in, 2 clubs moving for him. Bidding war could be there. Interest in moving to Italy. But we can't get excited until we find out that Sancho's agreed personal terms. We can't get excited. We could agree a fee with Napoli and we could agree a fee with Juventus, but that's no different to what we've done with Chelsea. We need Sancho to agree personal terms. If we get a story coming out saying that Sancho's agreed personal terms, then bish, bash, bosh, we're going to get the here we go. That's what we need, the personal terms. But will he take a pay cut? Will we take a pay cut? That's the question. Can't wait to see the back of Sancho. Me too. Like, for me, he arguably is our worst signing. When you look at the way he acted, the way he refused to play, that we gave him 3 months off, arguably he's our worst signing. Samuel Lutko has also mentioned that Antony's ready to take a wage cut to leave Manchester United, and Antony's willing to lower his wages from 150k a week to 100k a week to get out of Manchester United and move to Betis. So we're now being told today Antony's willing to take a wage cut of 30%, which is 50 grand a week, to leave Man United. We've got clubs interested in Onana. Amorim's going to take no mercy and drop 4 players from tour to push them to get the move. And now Sancho's interested in an Italy move. We've now got a lot of updates and a lot of movements coming out in regards to outs. Antony's willing to take a wage cut. Well, that's absolutely massive. He's on 140k a week and he's willing to take a 30% wage cut, which is going to put him down to basically 100k a week. Well done, Antony. Sancho wasn't willing to take the wage cut. Sancho should be looking at Rashford and Sancho should be looking at Antony. Rashford is willing to take a wage cut to leave Man United and Antony's willing to take a wage cut to leave United. And do you know what? They've got the World Cup coming up. They want to get back into their national teams. They want to play football. Jadon Sancho, you've got Napoli interested in you. You've got Juventus interested in you. Go and take that wage cut. Go and take that wage cut and go to Juventus. Juventus are ready to pay up, so go and take that wage cut and go to Juventus. That's how I feel on the situation. But Sancho is happy to move to Italy, is now prepared to move to Italy, according to Luckhurst. That's, good stuff. There's now more Italian media getting on that Juventus are willing to challenge Napoli for Sancho. So, lots of big news and lots of big indications coming out there. Deadwood out, they're stopping United from getting the players they need. Yeah, Manchester United getting the Deadwood out is the biggest and most important thing this summer, 100%. At the end of the day, we want Sancho gone, we want Rashford gone, we want Garnacho gone, we want Antony gone. If we can get rid of Sancho, Rashford, Garnacho and Antony, we can do some good business this summer. Because they are the 4 players. Garnacho is the pure profit. Garnacho doesn't have the wages, but Garnacho is the pure profit. Man United want pure profit from selling Garnacho. So Garnacho is the pure profit. Jadon Sancho is the wages and the fact that we just want him gone because of the obvious attitude issues. Antony, again, is wages. And Marcus Rashford is PSR and wages. So those 4 players go and United are in a position where they can do some business. Now, as of now, Sancho leaving on a permanent when I thought he was going to run down his contract and only go on loan is looking increasingly likely. Antony leaving looks certain. Like, I'm confident that we're going to get £30 million for Antony and he will leave. Antony's willing to take basically a 50k a week wage cut to go to Real Betis and be on 100k a week there. Okay? Marcus Rashford wants out, is willing to take a wage cut, but right now that is looking like it's going to drag on to August. And Garnacho is going to bring in 50, 60 million pure profit. I think with Garnacho, and we spoke about this on the United District podcast yesterday, I think there's a lot of teams interested in buying Garnacho for around 50 million, but they're waiting for one team to make a bid to start the race. Then there could be a bidding thing. There's also conversation and rumours going about that Garnacho could be involved in a deal to bring Emi Martinez the other way, and that United have now got some concrete interest in Onana. Monaco are monitoring Onana, but there's interest in Saudi, and that Onana could leave. So we've now got some big and interesting stories coming out in regards to outs. Do you think we will get a deal done? If Sancho agrees to personal terms, he will leave. Done. We need Sancho agree to personal terms. The problem is, Antony and Rashford, World Cup coming up, want to get back into their national teams, willing to lower wages for minutes. Sancho doesn't seem like the kind of guy that is willing to lower his wages for minutes. Like, Sancho is one of those people that I feel like would happily just sit on the bench so we can run down his contract and have a load of money and a big signing on fee at his next club. Well, look, I hope I'm wrong. Florian Wirtz is officially a Liverpool player. Liverpool have now signed Kirkers and now moving for Gay. Stop reminding me what Liverpool are doing in the chat because it makes me feel sick what Liverpool are doing this summer. Juventus are now advancing to sign Jadon Sancho. There's some reports in Italy now coming out and saying that Sancho to Juventus is very close, but I think they're probably jumping the gun there and not the most credible there. But someone said, will Sancho be allowed to play FIFA at Juventus? I think so. As long as he can play a bit of FIFA, I think he's happy. Juventus must bid more to get Sancho. We must get a good price for the player. We got robbed by other clubs. This scenario must stop. We're just desperate to sell Sancho. Look, 25 million was what we wanted for Sancho. I think we should have asked for 35 million for Sancho, but 25 million was the price. Chelsea then gave us 5 million for it. So if we get 25 million from now, from Juventus, we technically get 30 million because of the 5 million we got for Chelsea. And I think with Sancho, because of his wages, because he will be a free agent next year, because we're so desperate to get rid of Sancho, 25 million, let him go. If we were asking for 25 million for Marcus Rashford, I'd say that's a disgrace. If we were asking for 25 million for Marcus Rashford, I'd say, well, there's going to be about 50 clubs wanting to buy him because 25 million for Marcus Rashford is a very, very good deal. But Marcus Rashford is easily worth 40 million. Garnacho for me is 60 million. We may get 50 million. Anthony 30 million. But Jadon Sancho, I feel like 25 million isn't a bad thing to ask for because it's the player. Like, we know that Rashford will lower his wages and leave. We know that Anthony will lower his wages and leave. But we don't know that about Sancho. So we're literally just like, look, you can get him on the cheap, so you might have to pay a few more wages for him. But we're that desperate to want him gone, to want him off the wage bill that, I don't think 25 million is a bad price for Sancho. Look, I honestly think we could have got a 35 million obligation to buy with Chelsea. But, it is what it is. I don't think it's an awful deal. Mount says, I'm done with this club, seriously, until the owners are gone. Well, I obviously want the ownership gone. And I want the deadwood gone, and I want a lot of changes at this club, and we will talk about that in a second. But the big thing at the moment is outs. We need to get players out, and as Alex said, we've lost a lot of transfer momentum the last few weeks. We cannot worry, and for me, it is get Mbumo done, get the players out. Let's move for a striker. Let's move for a goalkeeper. Look, there's some talk that Emi Martinez could be done in the next week and a half, so that could be one to watch, but. Yeah, I mean, there's not really much going on with Malacia, but apparently he's willing to take a wage cut to get out of United as well. So yeah, we're going to talk about a couple of stories. Palhinha, a lot of people are mentioning it. It wasn't said by credible sources that we're in for Palhinha. We will discuss that later. But we're gonna get through the news. We're gonna get through the stories because I've got quite a bit to get into in today's show. And we're 17 minutes in, and we haven't really spoke about all of the news and stories. So let's dive into it. So this was said here in regards to Onana. Andre Onana has been considered by AS Monaco as an option for the goalkeeping position. Now, we've been talking about Onana a lot over the last few days because we've been saying we know that United sort of wanted to offload Onana, but United aren't really getting any offers for Onana. United haven't really, got many offers for Onana. So now all of a sudden, United are putting out briefs that are happy with Onana, they want him to stay. And as I said yesterday, if Manchester United were happy with Onana and wanted him to stay, like they're saying in the briefs, then why are Manchester United actively having conversations with Emi Martinez and Aston Villa? From credible sources have said this. It's not like some random source saying we're in talks with Aston Villa and Emi Martinez. No, credible sources have said this is true. United are in talks with Aston Villa. United are in talks with Emi Martinez. If Man United were happy with Onana, happy to keep him, this and that, like the media brief 3 days ago, we wouldn't be in active talks with Emi Martinez. Man United, and I got exclusive information about this months ago, have told Onana to look for a new club. Onana's interview even suggested, he gave a big hint at that. But the problem was with Onana, because he's got 26 million left on his book value, United wanted 30 million to sell him. Is anyone going to pay out 30 million? He also has quite high wage demands, only Saudi can match. So United all of a sudden, a bit like Casemiro last summer, we wanted to sell Casemiro to Saudi last summer. Saudi didn't come in. United are like in this position where they wanted to sell Onana, but actually they come to the realization that this could be difficult. Not many clubs seem interested in Onana. Not many clubs seem to be coming in for Onana. So we're briefed that we're happy with him and we're happy for him to stay. Do you know why United were putting that out? Because United are in talks with Emi Martinez and Villa are asking for 40 million. And because Manchester United talks with Emi Martinez and Villa are asking for 40 million, Man United are now putting out that they're happy with Onana, they don't want to sell him, because that's going to improve Onana's value if they say they're happy with the player and they don't want to sell him. But it's also going to help them get the Emi Martinez price tag down. Now, Villa aren't stupid. They'll know that we'll want to sell Onana. But United are now trying to put out that they're happy with Onana. They're happy with him to stay. He's a big part of the club's future because they're going to say to Villa, we want Emi Martinez, but if you're asking for 40 million, we'll walk away because, we're happy with Onana. We're not desperate to do this. In fact, we want a new goalkeeper. We're not happy with Onana. Amorim is not happy with Onana. But we're now going to play this game to Villa. And now Monaco, that we're very happy with Onana, we don't want to sell him because one, that can improve Onana's value, but two, if we want Emi Martinez, Villa will see we're desperate for a keeper and ask for 40 million. If Villa think, no, they're happy with Onana, they're not desperate for a keeper, you might get Emi Martinez for 25 million. And that is the situation ongoing with Manchester United, with everything. Big up to Peter for joining the members club. Big up everybody in the chat. But United are now potentially finding buyers for Onana. We've had talks with Emi Martinez. They seem to be advancing. United wouldn't buy Emi Martinez unless Onana's going to go. Unless Rashford or Garnacho is going the other way, or Onana's going to go, we're not going to buy Emi Martinez. Now, credible tier one, very good journalists are saying, look, we're in for Martinez. We're having conversations there. So that says, basically, United must have some confidence, and United must have some strong confidence that Onana could be going if they're going for Emi Martinez for me. I think United believe they will find buyers for Onana. I believe United believe they'll find buyers for Onana because why would you be in for Emi Martinez at this 35 million price tag? Why would you be in for him if you weren't confident that, oh, we could find a buyer for Onana here, or we could find a buyer for Onana there? And you're talking about not just Saudi clubs hovering around Onana, but Monaco is there. We're now talking about a couple of clubs there hovering around Onana. And that's quite interesting. This is what I think. United will not spend more than 20 to 25 million. If we don't sell Onana, we can't spend more than 20 million on a keeper. That is a fact. If we don't sell Onana, we can't spend more than 20 million on a keeper. So why are we looking at a 40 million keeper? Is there something going on with Villa? Are we going to do, and I apologise if there's some Wi-Fi lag, are we going to do what Villa and Chelsea did, where they overpay for one of our players when we overpay for one of their players, as a bit of a PSR thing, because Villa not getting Champions League football is a PSR issue? Or is it, well, you know what, we'll probably find a buyer for Onana, so let's, spend 40 million on Martinez. Like, it doesn't make sense, the 40 million on Martinez. I don't know where that money's coming from when you need a striker, when you need a midfielder, because for me, I think a centre mid is more important than the goalkeeper. And look, Onana makes a lot of mistakes. But Emi Martinez statistically makes more mistakes leading to goals than Onana. But because he's at Villa, if he makes a mistake, it's not going to be on Twitter. It's not going to be on Sky Sports. If Emi Martinez makes a mistake, Sky Sports aren't going to be posting that all over their feed. If Onana makes a mistake, they will. I will tell you this now. Emi Martinez, yes, he's a better goalkeeper than Onana. Yes, he's got a good mindset and attitude. But he's 33 years of age, which isn't old for a keeper. Van der Sar was 34. But when you're taking into account the price tag, 40 million for a 33-year-old, I don't like it. Emi Martinez makes mistakes and it gets ignored. Onana makes mistakes, it doesn't get ignored because he plays in a Man United shirt. Emi Martinez is better than Onana, but he's mistake prone. He's cost Villa a lot in games this season, and I think that because of his PR, because he won the World Cup, I think he's a little bit overrated. I'm going to be honest, I want a new goalkeeper. It's Emi Martinez for 20 million. I'm happy with that. But Emi Martinez for 40 million, for me, where's that money coming from? Are you confident you're selling Onana? I don't like that. I don't like it. There is talk as well of Saudi having interest in Onana. Romano did confirm that Saudi clubs do maintain interest in Onana, which is positive. But he said there hasn't been a proposal. But he said that Onana's exit could develop. So, there was a feeling a few days ago that we were going to be stuck with Onana. Now we're looking at goalkeepers that cost 40 million. Now we've got clubs in for Onana. Now the Onana situation could develop. He could leave. The club isn't. And, the fact that we're having talks with Emi Martinez says to me, well, clearly, you don't want Onana and he's not in the future because you wouldn't be having this many conversations with Emi Martinez. Do you know what I mean? Well, clearly. Well, that's becoming clear. Alex says, Martinez not my favourite goalkeeper, but I hope a clear upgrade on Onana. Onana's disaster waiting for up, and he is an upgrade, but not for 40 million. How come 10 argument for Onana? I know. He's in for Kwanzaa. He's helping Liverpool out. He's not worth 40 million. He's not old for a goalkeeper, but he's still a little bit on the older side. This is the club that sold Dean Henderson for 15 million that wants to spend 40 million on Onana. That, for me, not Onana, want to spend 40 million on Emi Martinez. Do you know what I mean? Doesn't fully make sense. We've got a super chat here. Thank you very much for the super chat, Ginger Bish. He says 40 million World Cup winner and solid keeper. If we get 3 years out of him, it's a good deal. Alisson has mistakes, as does every keeper. 40 million is just too much. Considering Villa want to sell, I think 40 million is too much in my opinion. I think, look, he's a good keeper, and look, you do it for 25 million. I'm not going to complain. He is a World Cup winner, but I almost think because he saves penalties and because he's a World Cup winner, people think he's better than he is. Because I've watched him a few times for Villa where he's had some bad games, and every keeper has bad games. But statistically, he's made more mistakes leading to goals than Onana, apparently. I'm trying to find it. Let me see if I can find the metric. Bear with me here. This was something the Athletic Opta posted about goalkeepers, and this is what puts me off him, because you think that Onana makes more mistakes than any goalkeeper in the world, but that's because Onana's at Man United. If he makes a mistake, it will get more media attention. But we're looking at a graph here, and at the bottom, it's error leading to opponent shots per 90. So errors leading to opponent shot per 90, David De Gea and Dean Henderson haven't made any errors this season leading to an opponent having a shot, which is mad. Robert Sanchez has made the most errors this season, leading to an opponent having a shot every 0.3 games, every 0.3 per 90. So every 3 games, Robert Sanchez is having an error which leads to an opposition player having a shot. De Gea, Dean Henderson, they're not making really any errors leading to shots per game. Either is Jan Sommer. Onana, every 1 in 7 games, Onana makes an error leading to the opponent having a shot. So every 1 in 7 games, Onana makes an error, which leads to the opponent having a shot, which is probably them scoring a goal. Emi Martinez is, look here, he's about 1 in 6 games. He's slightly more error prone than Onana when it comes to letting oppositions have shots. So I do think that because he's at Villa, you won't think he makes as many errors as he does. But when you're at Man United and you make errors, you get all the media attention. That's something about goalkeepers. Why not Savic? Apparently Napoli are in for him. I think Milinkovic-Savic as a Bayern replacement made a fair bit of sense. But I think he's going to Napoli now. 40 million is not a good deal, yeah. When you look at Lucas Chevalier being 30 million, I don't think 40 million is a good deal. Villa are winners if they get 40 million from us, 100%, because Villa could go out and sign Lucas Chevalier for 30 million to replace, Emi Martinez with, that's younger and could be the next Alisson. That's what I think. I'm not a big fan of it. Like, it's an upgrade, it's an improvement, cool. 25 million, cool, but for 40 million, not at all. For me, not a fan of 40 million. And that people say you're being negative. I don't think I'm that negative. I'm just thinking, if Manchester United only needed a keeper this summer, it's fine. If we didn't need a striker, if we didn't need a midfielder, if we didn't need a Mbumo, and we didn't need a wingback because we had such a great squad and the only position we needed is a keeper, spending 40 million on Emi Martinez, I can somewhat get behind. If that's, what we needed to do. Do you know what I mean? But spending 40 million on Emi Martinez, as of now, I can't get behind, because we do need a striker. We do need a midfielder. I don't think we need to spend that much on a goalkeeper. And I think we need a goalkeeper if it's going to not allow us to get a midfielder or striker. If we sell Onana, we have a load of funds and we can spend 40 million on a keeper and still be able to get a midfielder and still be able to get a Mbumo and still be able to get a striker. Fair enough. But I just think, with our funds as well, is that what we need to do? I will get into it because tier 1 sources have said stuff. So it had been said that Manchester United have made official contact with Aston Villa to find out the terms of a potential deal for Emi Martinez. So contact is going on. That has been said. We're actually having contact. We're actually negotiating this deal. Things are actually, ongoing. Do you know what I mean? There's conversations. There's a bit being spoken about here. There's a bit being spoken about there. You know what I mean? So, we're in for him. We're interested in him. And that has been confirmed. Also been said, and I'm going to dive into a few other bits, that Manchester United, that initial contact have taken place and he's ready to say yes. So all this talk from the media the last few days, that Emi Martinez is ready to say yes to Manchester United and ready to move to Manchester United. All this talk is true because Onana's confirmed it. I was a bit sceptical this week about Emi Martinez news. I was like, I bet it's being agent pushed. If Onana's not going anywhere, we're not going to sign Martinez. I've always said this. If we don't sell Onana, we're not going to sell Martinez. I thought that a lot of this Emi Martinez to Manchester United news was agent pushed. Especially with the news coming out that Onana's more like to stay this and that. I've strongly felt that this Emi Martinez to Man United news must be agent pushed. But Romano is saying, look, no, United have had contacts. This isn't made up. This isn't fake news. This isn't agent pushed. Man United have had contact for Emi Martinez. And yes, it's true. He's ready to say yes. He wants to move to Manchester United. So, look, that's quite big in itself. Initial contacts have taken place. He's ready to say yes to Manchester United. There's something ongoing, which again says, well, if you want Emi Martinez and you know he's costly, then surely you must have some indication inside Man United that Onana's going to go. They must have some confidence they found about a buyer for Onana inside the club. Surely. That's what my mindset is thinking. That's what my mind is thinking. Surely there's some confidence there. Surely. Let me read this one sec. Do you think Jadon Sancho would go to Napoli or Juventus? Whoever's given him the highest wages. I don't think Jadon Sancho has a preference between Napoli and Juventus. I honestly think he would just go to who gives him the highest wages. Who's going to give him the highest wages? Cool, I'm going to go to you. That's how I think that Jadon Sancho thinks. He just wants to go to whoever's going to offer him the most money. And that doesn't surprise me in the slightest. It's very obvious he's in for the money. At 40 million, how much more is it for Costa at that point? That's the problem. Diogo Costa, there's talk of him being 45 million. I mean, Emi Martinez, because Villa are desperate to sell, well, they want to do a deal in the next 2 weeks. It can move a lot quicker. It can move a lot easier. But if Diogo Costa's 45 million pounds or 50 million pounds is only a little bit more, you know, for me, you either spend 20 million or less on a goalkeeper, or if you're going to spend 40 million, you might as well spend 50 million and get someone younger and better. Like, that's what I feel. It's like you're either going to get a goalkeeper for under 20 million because you can't sell Onana and you want someone to challenge him, or you're going to be spending big on a keeper. So why not spend a little bit more? If he's going to be 50 million, yeah. Look, if it's 30 million, it's a slightly better deal. Like 25 million, 5 million is add-ons, 30 million. It's not ideal, but fair. But 40 million is a joke. Everyone's saying talk fast. When I go on a rant, I do talk fast. Juventus more likely to pay his wages. I think as of now, Sancho to Juventus is more likely because they're way more likely to pay his wages. Way more likely to pay his wages. Jadon should run to any proper club that will take him. I'm shocked there's still interest. This is the thing I don't get about Sancho. If Sancho was forced out of Manchester United, and if Sancho wanted to play for us and was forced out and was treated badly by us, and then he rejected Chelsea to run down his Man United contract and get a big paycheck and stay on high wages, fair enough. We treated you like rubbish, fair enough. But we didn't do that. He wanted out of United. He forced to move. He refused to play. In Ten Hag's first season, he got 3 months off. Really nice 3 months off. In his second season, he refused to play for 3-4 months and forced the way out. And you forced your way out, you did all that freedom stuff, and then you refused to move to Chelsea after they were willing to pay up to buy you. And that's where Sancho's behaviour was a disgrace. Because people are saying, why should he take a wage cut? Why should he move to Chelsea? Why do you think he should do that? If we forced him out, or if he genuinely didn't want to leave Man United, I wouldn't blame Sancho for rejecting Chelsea because he didn't want to take a wage cut and staying at United for the money and running down his contract. But when he made it so clear he didn't want to be at Man United, forced to move, and refused to play, why aren't you leaving when you're still being offered good wages and you've still got interest in you? The World Cup is coming up. Are you seriously more interested in playing, in sitting on the bench and playing PlayStation and having a load of money? Then, you're still 25, you can still redeem your career. Like, seriously, that's the question. And that's the question I will ask Sancho. Like, are you serious? His attitude, his behaviour is everything for me. It's just a disgrace. I think it's an absolute disgrace. Continuing on, we know that Juventus are making moves to Sancho. There's talk of big going in for Sancho. The only issue is Sancho needs to agree a wage package. Now, what we do know in regards to United announce is they're ready to be ruthless. They don't want to be taking people on pre-season tour. They're ready to be ruthless. And this is what I like to see. There's talk here. Rashford, Antony, Garnacho and Sancho all set to be dropped from pre-season tour if they have not found a new club. Anthony, Sancho, Garnacho and Rashford will leave United this summer and are all actively working on their exits. They're not in the plan. Rashford could go on loan again, according to some reports, as a permanent deal may be harder to find. But we know with Rashford, Anthony, Sancho and Garnacho, they're all out of here. The problem with Sancho is he out of here on a permanent where we get some money, or is he out of here on a loan where we're still going to pay some of his wages and he's going to run down his deal and we're going to get zero money for him? That's why we want Sancho out on a permanent. Now, the Sun are saying that Amorim is set to axe on Alejandro Garnacho, Rashford, Anthony and Sancho from United's pre-season tour of the USA. They will train a loan accountant if they've not found a new club by then. Now, I don't normally, report things too seriously that come from the Sun. For me, the Sun is not the most credible source of information. It's not the best source of information to be writing stuff, to be saying stuff. But there's talk of them being axed from pre-season tour. They have no future here. They are out of here. Regardless of whether it's a loan, regardless of whether it's a permanent deal, they are out of here. They're out of the club. Man United want them gone. But what we want is a permanent deal. I don't want loan deals for Sancho and he runs down his contract. We want a permanent, and we need to fight and hope and make sure that we do get a permanent. It's 25 million offer from Juventus for Sancho. Brilliant. Sancho, please accept the wages they're going to give you. Juventus will probably pay a bit more than Chelsea. You could get, if you do well, and I'm going to say this now, Sancho is more suited to the Italian league than the Premier League. Sancho, this is your opportunity to go to the Italian league, which is a lot slower, which will suit you a lot more, which I think you will do a lot better in. Go to a big club at Juventus, play Champions League football, redeem your career, potentially even get back in the England squad if you're good. This is your chance to redeem yourself. You're 25. You're not 31 and you need to get the bag. You're 25. They'll offer you good wages. Apparently, they're ready to pay up and offering 25 million. Please, Sancho, go. I don't see the point in him staying. It would do him a lot of good. I believe Juventus are in the Champions League. I think they got it in the end. Did they? Serie A table. I feel like they got 4th place. Juventus are in the Champions League. They got it just in the end. Because I remember Roma lost the game. Roma were close. Milan finished 8th. Damn. I forgot Milan finished so low down. Considering that literally 2 seasons ago, last season Milan finished 2nd. And literally Milan won the league 4 seasons ago. So Juventus are in Champions League as well, which means financially they can also offer and pay more for Sancho. So please, yeah. The Sancho situation is a shame in general because we were so gassed, we were so hyped when we signed Sancho, and he was underwhelming. And it wasn't that he was just underwhelming. Donny van de Beek was underwhelming, but at least Donny van de Beek had good attitude and he tried hard. Sancho had bad attitude, forced the way out, arguably didn't try hard. Yeah. A few people are asking me about Palhinha. Dean Jones and Danny Ross have said that United have looked at Palhinha as a potential option because Bayern want to get rid of him. He's a Ugarte 2.0, but older and worse. So hopefully we don't go for Palhinha. I don't think there's much in it. Amorim wants new signings on board before the club's pre-season tour in 4 weeks' time. There's a hope that Boomer will be done by then. Fingers crossed. Samuel Lutkes did say that United might have to loan out Rashford again. He's only interested in Champions League clubs, despite other clubs being in for him. That's the situation with Marcus Rashford. And Samuel Lutkes did speak about Anthony willing to take a wage cut to get out of Man United. So big up to Anthony. Anyway, people, I just want to big up everybody that tuned into today's live show. I know I spoke fast. I know I had a bit of a rant. I needed to have a bit of a rant. But I feel like there was a lot to talk about. There was a lot ongoing, lots of big news. So that's good. I'm just seeing if anyone's live that's worth redirecting to. I don't think anyone's live right now. Let me see if someone like Cass is live. See if there's anyone live to redirect to. If not, I'll just wrap up the stream here. No, nobody's live right now. But big up everyone. I will be back at 5 o'clock. Thank you for watching. Bye.